Are we ready? All right, here we go. So today's lesson is on rational and polynomial applications, stories that will result in either a rational or a polynomial equation that we're going to solve. So some of these stories have ugly numbers that I'm going to change. So there's a software program that creates these stories for me. And when I see a number that I want to change, I'm just going to change it. Because I don't want the focus to be, I need a calculator and everything else. I need the focus to be on the story and how we're going to break it down. So I'm going to read this together with you, and we're going to annotate it, and then we're going to solve it together. And like, for instance, it's going to take 7.74 hours to do something. We're not going to do that. So we're going to, when there's a number like that, we're going to break it. I'm going to change it to what would be a little simpler for us. So I'm going to read it. Working together, Dan and Julia can clean an attic in 7.74 hours. So I have the right, because I'm the teacher, I'm going to change that number to 5 hours. So, working together, Dan and Julia can clean an attic in 5 hours. Had she done it alone, it would have taken 15 hours. I'm okay with that number. How long would it take Dan to do it alone? So, working together, Dan and Julia can clean the house in 5 hours. Circle 5. Had she done it alone, it would have taken 15 hours. And then the question is, how long would it take Dan to do it alone? Have any of you solved problems that look like these? These are called work problems. Have you done anyone like this? So the key to solving these is to understand the rate the job is being done per unit of time, whatever it is. In this case, it's hours. So if I broke it down and said, Dan, then I said, oh, Julia, then I said, oh, together, all of these are going to be rates. So the first one I circled was 5. Does that belong to Dan, to Julia, or together? So 5 belongs to what? Together. Now listen carefully. I'm not going to write down 5 for together. Instead, I'm going to use 5 to come up with a rate. So the rate is this. Together, how much of the job is being done per hour? So the rate is per hour. To complete the whole job, how many hours does it take? So what part of the job is being done every hour? And it's going to be a fraction. So what part of the job is being done every hour? So every hour, 1/5 until the job is done. What's the next number we circled? Does that belong to Dan or to Julia? So if it takes Julia 15 hours per hour, what fraction, because these are going to be fractions, what fraction of the job is being done per hour? So every hour, 1/15 of the job is being done until it's all done. That's the rate that it's going at. And do you know anything about Dan? So because it's my unknown, the rate, so x in this case represents so x is the total number of hours it would take Dan to complete the job by himself. So if it takes Dan x hours to complete the job, what rate is he going? And can you see the pattern that we're going to follow here? That when you see it, ultimately, to find the rate, you're going to do the reciprocal. Yes? If it takes you 6 hours, what rate are you going? What's the reciprocal? 1 over 6. If it takes you 10 hours, what's the reciprocal? 1 over 10 is going to give us the rate. So we have an equation here. So we take the rate Dan takes plus the rate Julia takes, and it's equal to the rate that they would do it if they were working together. So do you see from the story what equation is going to come from it? What type of equation is this? This is called a rational equation. Do you know how to solve a rational equation? We're going to make the denominators the same. So how do I make the denominators the same? What's missing that the first one needs? The first denominator is missing a what? A 15. Because my goal is to make all the denominators the same. What's the second one missing that it needs? An x. Is that right? What's the last one missing that it needs? Top and bottom. Now, are all the denominators the same? So now, if all the denominators are the same, what do I write down? The numerator. So what's 15 times 1? 1 times x. And then 1 times 3x. All right, solve it. So is it linear or a quadratic right now? Because it's linear, can you combine like terms? So we're not going to make it equal to 0. We're not factoring, right? It's simple, linear, combine like terms. How do I bring the x's together? Subtract. So that means 15 is equal to divide by 2. And what answer do you get? So 15 over 2, I don't really like because it doesn't feel comfortable with the answer. How long does it take Dan to do it alone? 15 over 2, that doesn't give me really the type of number I want. So what's a better number to say? So does that make more sense? It would take 7.5 hours if he's working by himself. So if I look at the question, how long would it take them doing it together? 5. One would take 15 and the other 7.5. Obviously, if you're working alone, it should take you longer than if you work together, right? So that feels like a good answer, feels reasonable. I like the math that we did. And now the last step is? The last step is to write a sentence that completes the story. So the question is, how long would it take Dan to do it alone? And the answer is, it would take Dan. What happened, Rosie? To do what? How do you know how big the attic is? How do you know how long it, like that? Have you seen Mary Poppins Returns? Sometimes attics are like big and dusty and you can't find what they need right away. It takes a long time to clean. Oh, you're saying that Julia's lazy that way. Maybe Julia is like thorough. And like Dan kind of whatever's it and says, oh, I'm done. Who knows? But I'm glad that you're asking good questions about the story. Not many people have attics. Like, do you guys have attics? Like, that's like it doesn't happen that often. Like, you have an attic where you keep stuff in, and when you're all sad, you walk up to your attic and whatever, look out the window, you know, in the movies. Hey, it would take Dan 7.5 hours. What's the story again? To clean the attic working alone. So it's really important to me that you don't write an essay. It's really important to me that when you write a concluding statement, you know what completes the story? What things was I careful about? I concluded the answer with units, and the sentence was part of the story, right? I didn't write down the answer is 7.5. I made sure the sentence completed the story, right? It included the story. And the story is about cleaning the attic. All right, let's look at number 2. So let me read it, and then eventually I'm going to let you read it. So number 2 says, Brenda can mop a warehouse in 11 hours. One day her friend Beth helped her, and it only took 4.95 hours. Find how long it would take Beth to do it alone. So again, because I'm the teacher, I'm going to make these numbers simpler to work with so you don't need a calculator. So Brenda can mop a warehouse in 10 hours. Can you change it? One day her friend Beth helped her and it would only take 5 hours. Otherwise, we need a calculator to do the calculator. I don't want to do that right now. So, how long would it take Brenda by herself? 10. How long would it take if they did it together? 5. We're going to set up an equation that represents the situation. So first of all, I'm going to tell you my unknown. What don't I know is find out how long it would take Beth to do it alone. So x is the number of hours So X is the number of hours for Beth to mop the warehouse alone. It's really important to me that when we do a story, that we can really organize the information and always be respectful of whatever story there is that's a part of it. So what don't we know? What's our unknown? The number of hours for Beth to mop the warehouse alone. All right. So to answer this, we're going to understand the rate. So when Brenda does it by herself, how long does it take her? So at what rate is she doing it per hour? So every hour, how much of the warehouse is being mopped? What fraction? And ultimately, you're going to do the reciprocal, right? 1/10. Plus, how about Beth? How many hours would it take her? Well, that's my unknown. And if that's my unknown, what's the reciprocal? That's the rate for Beth that I don't know. And then together, how long would it take them? So what fraction is being done per hour? What's the reciprocal? And if you've never done it before, when you understand the pattern of how we're setting it up, it's going to get easier and easier. So once we have it, how do I solve irrational equations to make the denominators the same? So what's the first denominator missing that it needs? X. What's the second one missing that it needs? 10. What's the last one missing that it needs? 2 and x. Once the denominators are the same, write down only the numerators. So 1 times x, 1 times 10, and 1 times 2x. Be aware that's now a basic linear, right? So to solve a linear equation, we combine like terms. So subtract x. 2 take away 1 is 1. What did we notice? How long would it take Beth to do it by herself? This would make Rosie happy, right? No one's lazy, right? They're exactly the same rate. Can you write a sentence that completes the story now? So again, what am I careful about when I write my sentence at the end? Did I include the answer with the correct units? Did I respect the story, right, in my sentence? All right, let's try number 3. Working alone, Ma4 can wax a floor in 14 minutes. One day his friend Adam helped him, and it only took 6.74 minutes, which is very accurate, isn't it? So we're going to change that in a moment, okay? Find how long it would take Adam to do it alone. So one number I'm going to change is 6.74. I'm going to change that to 8 minutes. 8, because I'm the teacher. Powerful, like that. Otherwise, we need a calculator to be able to calculate with such accuracy. Step 1 is, I need to know what my unknown is. What don't I know? What am I looking for that is not given? What about Adam? The number of, be accurate, the number of, it would do what? It would take Adam to wax the floor. That's what I don't know. And I'm respecting the story. Can you go back? The numbers that you circled, do you understand the equation that will come out of it? So if mole 4 takes 14 minutes, then what fraction is done every minute? 1 over 14. If it takes Adam 8 minutes, what fraction is being done? No, one is that helped them. I'm sorry. So together, so I don't know this, right? But I do know that together. All right, solve the equation. And then write a sentence. Do you ever find out, like you're looking at 8 and 14 and your brain doesn't want to do it? Can I make it easier? Are you willing? 14 means the same as 2 times. 14 means the same as 2 times 7. 8 means the same as 2 times 4. Why does it make it easier to break down the number that way to get a common denominator? Then I can ask, what is it missing that it needs? It has a 2. What is it missing? A 4 and the first denominator has a 7. What doesn't it have that the others do have? The others have an x and so what do I need to multiply top and bottom times? 4x. What's the next one missing that it doesn't have? It needs a 2, a 4, and a 7. Do you know what that is altogether? 2 times 4 times 7? That's not unreasonable. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 7 is, so what is it missing top and bottom? 56. What's the last one missing that the other one has? Has a 2 and a 4. It needs a 7 and a x. Now, 4x times 1, 56 times 1, and 1 times 7x. Can you combine like terms and solve it? Do you know how many 3's go into 56? I'm going to start with a 1. 3 into 26. What? So, it's 2/3. So, how long will it take Adam to wax the floor? Here, I'm even going to round up. It'll take Adam about 19 minutes to wax the floor. Is that a good approximation? So it would take Adam about 19 minutes to wax a floor. Okay. Let's look at number 4. And then your homework is going to be the same type of question. And then we're going to continue this tomorrow. So working alone, Lisa can pick 40 bushels of apples in 13 hours. Brenda can pick the same amount in 8 hours. How long would it take them if they worked together? So I'm going to change 13 to make my life a little easier. I'm going to change it to 12 hours. I'm going to start with what don't I know? And the answer is the number of, the number of hours it would take Lisa and Brenda to pick 40 bushels of apples. That's what I don't know. So let's start. Lisa in 12 hours, the rate is 1 over 12. Brenda in 8 hours, the rate is 1 over 8. And what I don't know is how long it would take them to do it together. So x is how long it would take them. So the rate would be the reciprocal, which is 1 over x. Because the numbers are smaller, it might be easier. Do you know the smallest number that 8 and 12 both go into evenly? And it's 24. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom times 2x. I'm going to multiply top and bottom times 3x. And then top and bottom times 24. That way all the denominators are 24x. If I look at the numerators, 2x times 1, 3x times 1, and then 1 times 24. Combine like terms and divide. So 24 divided by 5 is really, really close to 5. But it's 4 4/5. So how long would it take them working together? About 5 hours, right? So let me write a good sentence. So it would take Lisa and Brenda about 5 hours to pick 40 bushels of apples together, right? That's the key word. All right, so Mr. G Math, over and out.